and this is the podcast where we explore craft beer culture with industry experts, foodie friends, ale enthusiasts, and microbrew misfits. First off, let me say Happy New Year to everyone. I hope that you have some great goals set for yourself in 2019. Feel free to reach out to me with an email and let me know what your goals are. And who knows, if we could collaborate, why not? Anything's possible. Some of my goals for 2019 are to fix my credit, which should be on a lot of your lists, to get back into Krav Maga, and to write my very first cookbook. Let me know what your goals are. Send me an email at jenny@beertalkradio.net. Now, for today's New Year episode, there's going to be a couple of firsts. Now, I have been in the beer geek community peripherally, tangentially, for about the past year. Can't say that I enjoy a lot of the beer events that I've been to. I'm a little bit alpha. So I will say this. I did learn about something called the shower beer. How many of you have heard of it? The shower beer. I did not know that this was actually a thing. I did not know this was actually something that regular people did. Apparently, what you do is you get an ice cold beer and you run a hot shower and you chug the beer while you're lathering up and rinsing off. Now, I've never heard of this before up until about maybe 10, 11 months ago. And I have been holding out this whole time and I've never done it. But today is a new day. This is a new year. And I decided that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to do it with a beer I know is going to make me feel good. I want my first shower beer experience to be the best. So for that, I have chosen one of my all-time favorites, and this is a very, very popular beer. A lot of people on the West Coast know about it. It's on a lot of taps at a lot of restaurants and bars. Maybe you've heard of it yourself. Old Rasputin. I mean, if I'm going to get drunk in a shower with anyone, I'm getting drunk with this guy. Today's mini episode, New Year's episode, we're going to talk about this beer. We're going to talk about the brewing company, North Coast Brewing Company. And then we're going to talk about the man himself. Now, this guy was a psychic. He was a wizard. He was a pervert. He was a hedonist. And there are many, many stories of him and the things that he said, the predictions that he made, and how they have affected the Russian royal family. I think, God, when was it? I got dates here. We'll talk about that later. He's quite a character. He is quite a character. He lived a very, very interesting life. But he did actually bring quite a bit of healing to certain families. I'm sure that he also created a lot of drama and definitely stirred the pot. You could consider him kind of Howard Hughes crazy. One of those guys that was brilliant but didn't take showers. Like, both amazing and disgusting at the same time. That's what Rasputin was. But let's get into it. In the tradition of 18th century English brewers who supplied the court of Russia's Catherine the Great, Old Rasputin seems to develop a cult following wherever it goes. I'm definitely a believer, as you can see. It's a rich, intense brew with big, complex flavors and a warming finish. The Old Rasputin brand image is a drawing of Rasputin with a phrase in Russian encircling it. A sincere friend is not born instantly. The style is Russian Imperial Stout. The color is black. ABV is 9%. And I think it's actually a little bit higher. Oh, no, they knocked it down. It used to be, I believe, 9.75. Maybe they toned it down. But when I first started drinking this, I think the ABV was a little bit higher. And of course, that was years ago. Bitterness, 75 IBU. It has won the 2018 World Beer Championship in Chicago. It has it was been referred to by Bill Owens, the president of American Distilling Institute, as the best beer in the world in my eyes, meaning in his eyes. It is a non-GMO beer, and it has a 100-point overall beer rate score at the BTI. It has won gold for also the 2014 World Beer Championship in Chicago, the 2012 Stockholm Beer and Whiskey Festival, 2006 Stockholm Beer and Whiskey Festival, 2006, 2005, and 2004 World Beer Championship in Chicago, won the 2004 Spring Beer and Wine Fest in Portland, 2002 GABF Imperial Stout, 1999 the GABF Imperial Stout, and it has won gold for the 1999, 1998, 1997, 1996 World Beer Championships in Chicago, as well as the 1996 World Beer Cup for Imperial Stouts. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would say that it is time for me to do this. A little bit nervous, as most of us are, our very first time, but I'm looking forward to it. I popped this thing earlier. Wanted you guys to get a closer look at the bottle. Brewed in the tradition of the 18th century English brewers who supplied the Russian court of Catherine the Great, Old Rasputin develops a cult following wherever it goes. It's a rich, intense brew with big, complex flavors and a warm finish. It's almost like drinking a very thick Coca-Cola or a very thick root beer. It drinks as thick as a soda. So when it was compared to sherry, that licorice taste, that thick liqueur mouthfeel is what they're talking about on this beer. So we need to get into it, as Tammy Roman says. It's one of the most flavorful beers that I've ever had. And unlike the pastry porters, which had been mentioned in the blog that I read from earlier, there is a sweetness to it, but it's almost like a black licorice sweetness, to where it's not a sugary sweetness. It's more of a natural sweetness, like something that you would get out of a reduction. I don't know if you guys have ever had balsamic reduction, but it's very similar to that type of sweetness. Almost like something was reduced down to a thick, sugary glaze, almost like a glaze. That's the best way that I can put it. I love the artwork on the label. Wanted you guys to get a closer look actually at the North Coast logo right there. All right, guys, I'm going to do this now. My first time, my first shower beer. Let's go. Well, that was quite amazing. There's something about the bitterness and the hop forwardness of this beer that makes it palatable and tolerable for me. The bitterness primarily is in the end. It comes after the thick, nutty, malty, deep, dark, almost it's it's almost like drinking it's almost like drinking bourbon without the smoke, if that makes sense. It's the bourbon of beers without being a barrel aged brew. It's the bourbon of beers. It's just that good. It's just that easy drinking, and it's fun to drink. It's tasty. I'm leaning to the side a little bit because when people do shower beers, they normally don't drink a beer that is 9%. But I'm a badass, so I decided to do it. And it was definitely worth it. So my first shower beer was absolutely delicious, and I'm glad I got to experience this my very first time with this old, dirty, nasty, disgusting mad monk, old Rasputin. Thank you, North Coast Brewing Company, for the amazing products that you put out. I will be trying to come to see you soon. Once again, for the rest of you, if you can make a trip to Northern California, please rent a car. Please drive up through to Mendocino County, and you will enjoy visiting not just the brewery, but honestly, I lived in that area briefly. I will tell you that the landscape is divine, and you are going to feel like you are in heaven. And of course, if you take this guy into the shower with you, you will continue to feel like you're in heaven.